Welcome to Tapped In with Tony. I am your host, Tony Bogan, and tonight we have our special guest, Sara Syed, founder of the Studio Cleveland and a yoga teacher. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Tony. Great to
Hey.
be here.
Yep, great to talk to you. I understand that you took a lot of hours of yoga instruction to be a teacher.
Yeah, minimum needed is 200 hours of training, and I've been practicing since 2008. I
Nice.
can't even count. I've immersed myself. I've lost count at like 10,000 hours probably.
Wow. Yeah, they say if you want to be good at something, you got to dedicate 10,000 hours to it. Yep. And
Oh
uh
yeah, totally.
for those of you who probably are just tuning in for the first time, give us a little bit of your background.
My background?
Yes.
Okay, so I have my bachelor's in psychology. So I started my adult life thinking I'd go into some kind of psychological field. I was always fascinated by the mind, and a lot of it stemmed from my own struggles with addiction, mental illness, anxiety, depression. So, I entered adulthood, college, wanting to study the mind via psychology. I realized it wasn't right for me, so that's actually when I stumbled across the yoga teacher training, and I still got to study the mind, but I got to do it in a way that felt right for me. A lot of the psychological practices now, really encourage take medications and just kind of numb those symptoms. Yoga, on the other hand, invites you to explore why you're feeling and how you're feeling from a holistic standpoint, which ultimately provides true healing and restoration to the body versus like a pill, which is, it just kind of like covers the symptoms for a little bit. And then I got my master's in. So there's that. My background also includes studying meditation across the world in places like Nepal and India, yoga in places like India, Nepal, Costa Rica. And I've been so lucky, graced to study and practice with some really well-known yoga teachers on this planet. And before I became a yoga teacher, I actually mental health clients. So I worked at recovery resources and some full service in companies to help people. But I found that I just help the most amount of people teaching yoga. It's been
Nice.
great.
Nice. And I remember one of the times I took yoga. I took yoga one time years ago. I remember it was twisting and turning in all these ways. Yep.
Yeah, we sure do.
Yeah. So, starting off with that, as you progress through adulthood, was there any huge takeaways that you got from the teachers that you studied under, and that for all the different places that you traveled? Because you're very well traveled.
Yeah, yeah. I like to think I am at this point. Takeaways. I mean, there's so many, and it's the thing about this lifestyle is that it's not happening all at once. It doesn't just hit you all at once. It kind of slowly simmers over the course of decades. Some of the biggest takeaways I've gathered is to be more internally focused, right? So a lot of times we spend our energy worrying about what other people think, worrying about how society sees us, or if we're doing good enough, or are we making enough money, or how do we look? And a lot of our energy in that way is spent externally, and it's draining. Instead, I've learned to shift all my awareness, or at least a lot of my awareness, inwards. And so I'm focusing on my internal state. And through that self awareness, I'm able to make choices and decisions that will actually be beneficial versus like continuing a cycle of like self-doubt and just other negative reactionary patterns. So it's like a really big one. Another big one kind of goes hand in hand, and that's to just, you know, create more space between each thought, more space between each breath, so we have time to process and respond. Something else that's been super important that I've learned, there's so many things, I can go on forever, but I'll try to keep it simplified, is self care and rest are so underrated. You know, we live in the US, and there's this very fast paced lifestyle we all kind of, I don't know, are put in, we have to deal with, right? Like
Hustle culture.
work a 9 to 5 and drive here and do this and do that. And nearly everyone I know is burnt out, broke, and unhappy. And it just doesn't work. Like you can't outrun the rat wheel. So I have found that just surrendering and stepping outside of that has been very healing, and just choosing to not participate in the rat wheel, you know, in the matrix, and kind of just going within and allowing the inner awareness to manifest outwardly, if that makes
Respect.
sense.
It does make sense because in this day and age, obviously, we do live in the US of A. We got a 9 to 5, and especially our generation and Generation Z, we're worried about hustle culture and trying to fit in with the rat race, keeping up with the Joneses and all that stuff. Some people, it's a wonder. People get burnt
Yeah,
out left and right trying to, just run. It's like running on a rat wheel, hamster wheel. Sorry.
yeah. And it's a race no one can win. It's a race that we can't win, you know. And you'll meet people who have become millionaires, billionaires, you know, you're recording athletes and such, and they might not be happy also, you know. Just because someone has a lot of money doesn't mean they're happy or healthy. So I've really pivoted my mindset to value health. There's no winner in the rat race. Like, we can't win. All you'll end up with is disease and fatigue. So it's better to just step out of that and find your own personal path. Now, the challenging part, though, is you're anyone will be faced with a lot of adversity when they're walking their own path. It's not easy. You know, I present it as this carefree thing, but you know, I've gone through the ringer. Like, I've had people, you know, just really not like me, ban me, fire me, you know, cut me out of their lives. Have happened, you know, and it's okay, because as people evolve and grow, you know, vibrations will shift, things will change, and you have to keep moving forward on your path, even when the people around you, your best friends, don't agree with what you're doing. But if it's true to you, in your heart, you want to trust that journey, that process.
Absolutely. Sarah, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. And this is something that I've seen in my life being a sports content creator because I work a 9 to 5 currently, but I do this part time because honestly, I like to cover games for the Cleveland area. And they say if you don't go through the ringer, if you don't have people that cut you off, if you don't have people that just straight up tell you, oh, this is a stupid idea, then you really aren't trying. And that's just the honest to God truth. Yeah,
It's Yeah, I mean, the visionaries, you know, we can see something whether we want to or no one else can see. So to stay that course and to walk that path, it confuses people. You know, people don't understand why are you doing, you should just be a doctor or a lawyer, and it's more stable, you know, but we're not all meant that path. So the ones like us who choose a different path might get that kind of feedback. But if you continue and you're persistent in your endeavors, eventually people will catch on and it'll make more sense. But in the beginning, it's definitely really hard.
oh
Little,
yeah.
there's not much in the beginning, so you have to really like learn to support yourself.
Yes. And you gotta stay the course. Like I write for KeonSports.com. I was one of the handful of people that came over and my boss Vince McKee, Vince, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. He said I was one of the guys that was down since day one. And since then, we've grown from like something that's like really small to covering state championships for football, baseball in a couple weeks, basketball. We've done some stuff there. So you just got to stay the course. This is great advice, honestly. And the visionaries, if you're a visionary, just go after your dreams. You're listening to this.
Yeah. All
And
time. You're into sports, into yoga, be a painter, someone might be a musician, game, there's not cheering you on, so it's cool to cheer you on. So that beginning first 5 years can be really hard. That's when a lot of people give up on their dreams and settle for the safe route. So that's a really important time to keep striving and pushing forward.
absolutely, without a doubt, because Keon Sports is going to be 5 years old in November, and we're still going strong. It's like Bad Boy. We don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Congrats, that's awesome.
Hey, no problem. Like I said, man, just gotta stay the course. And speaking of sports and yoga, I know those two have gone hand in hand. Have you had any, any of the professional athletes that you've gotten to have had in your classes, or anyone affiliated with any of the organizations that you've had in your classes?
Yeah, so I own the Studio Cleveland, which is located downtown, as you said. We've had Cavs players, Guardians players, Utah Jazz, they're called, and actually had the Spider-Man actor. I can't remember his name. He's
Tom Holland?
the blonde Spider-Man.
Ooh, Andrew. It's either Andrew Friedman or Tom Holland. One of them.
I
Those two.
think Tom Holland. Um, he came for a massage. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but yeah, we definitely get inquiries from some of the pro athlete teams. We've taught high school teams, high school students. We've taught pretty much every breed population, and so it's been pretty cool.
Oh yeah, and I've seen that especially with high school sports on a high school level of like teams around the area, Brush, Shaker Heights, Ravenna up by me, Warren JFK. Some of those kids will like do yoga on Saturdays after their Friday night games. So that just shows how popular yoga has caught on in in society.
Right. When I started in 2007, 8, and I told people I was into this yoga. No one really knew, at least the people in my circle, no one knew yoga. I've never now fast forward to 2023, it's in schools, the clinic has it, like it's just widely accepted at this point. But going on sports, it is hugely beneficial for athletes. So I do consider myself an athlete. I used to do aerial arts. I used to climb fabric, do the lyra and performances off the kind of like Cirque du Soleil. And, a lot of my ability and restoration came from the yoga practices, doing stretching and the breathing, breath awareness. Even LeBron practiced yoga. Like a lot of athletes, this is so common now to just practice yoga. It's integrated part into their training regimen.
Absolutely, and it happens with not just like if someone like LeBron does it, then any baseball player can do it. Race car drivers, I'm sure, practice it. Basketball players, and it could definitely help keep the players' careers going. Honestly, like you're staying all limbered up.
Yeah, when you're limber, you are less likely to get injured. And the practice of yoga, that the movements also helps you recover from potential injuries if you've had minor injuries. And most importantly too, it does a lot for the mind, so it can keep you calm in those stressful moments of like pressures from the games and such.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes they'll be under pressure situation. The coach will be like, breathe, breathe. It's okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, with the studio, what got you in started with the studio? What was it that led you to go all in on this? To say, you know what? I'm going to do this?
Well, it was a twist of events that being the owner of the studio in Cleveland and my acquisition. Um, Basically, I don't know if it was a mixture of karma or fate, but it wasn't logical by any means. Before I actually purchased the studio, so I'm not the founder. Purchased it in 2018 from Sara Syed. And without getting into too much detail, I was first fired from the studio. I was, and there's like a whole like thing happened. Um, I would consider them minor miscommunications, but I did a silent meditation. So I think somewhere when I got fired, the owner was like, "You know what? You're really ungrounded. You should go do the Vipassana thing." And I was. I did. So I did this Vipassana thing. It's a 10-day silent meditation, and I mean, all you do is meditate. Phone. There's no books, no journal, no music. Like meditation. That's all it is. Like no talking, nothing. And it's like a hard reset. So I did that, and through some weird twists of fate, less than a year later, she offered to sell me the studio, and I bought it. So I was definitely excited, petrified. I mean, given that my background is in education and psychology, I didn't have a business background. Anything I know about business has been self taught. And it's really hard to learn business on the spot with an existing business and to keep it afloat. And then a year later, COVID comes. So that's even threw more surprise into the. But I have had it anyway, any other way. I think I've become stronger because of it, more confident, and not much freaks me out. Like if you can be a small business owner during COVID when everything had to shut down, it's like, and you can come out on the other end of that, it's kind of like, oh, you could do anything. That was really hard time for the whole world, let alone small businesses and such. But yeah, I mean, the opportunity was handed to me, and I had to borrow some money to buy it, but it's one of those moments where you just knew like you have to do this. So it was definitely like a fate moment.
That's amazing. It's like God laid that plan out there for you and you took advantage and you rolled through, especially like you said with the small businesses being affected by COVID. A lot of small businesses sadly closed, but y'all pushed through, y'all stayed the course and you made it happen and now you're the teacher, you've taught athletes and I say the sky's the limit and with the whole 10-day retreat, I think I'd go crazy after day 2.
Well, even I do. I go crazy, and the point is to embrace that crazy. They say the only way out is through. That craziness is inside of all of us, and the only way to get to the side is to really explore that and to let yourself kind of lose your mind, right? And I felt that way, like going into these 10-day retreats. I feel like I'm in a psych unit. You can't really do much. You can go outside and walk around on your free time, but you're just walking in circles silently looking at the ground. You're like, am I in a psych unit right now? And you are, it is. But it's a very spiritual version of one where you face your inner demons, you learn to quiet, and you humble my big ego got humbled for sure at the first one. Since I've gone back like 6 or 7 times, I try to do these 10-day retreats once a year, sometimes twice. And next week. So
Wow. Wow. Looks like I got you at the right time.
yeah, I'll be going soon. Meditate got me at a good time.
Nice, nice. And you were recently in India doing some yoga stuff. How is it like what's been your favorite part of like doing it overseas cuz you were in India, Costa Rica, Nepal, and so on.
I mean, I love travel. So even before I'm a yoga teacher, well, even before I bought the yoga studio, I traveled a lot. Like I traveled a lot in grad school, and I think I just got hooked on other cultures. Like I really love how the rest of the world most of the rest of the world. Like if you go to Central, go to India, if you go to Nepal, their values are very different than that in the US. Like in the US, we value productivity, hard work, financial stability, security. Over there, they value family and feeling healthy, feeling good, and celebrating life and eating good food. And, each meal is still like a celebration. And it's just a very different energy and culture. And when I was exposed to that in grad school, you know, if I'm in the US too long, I'm just like, oh, my soul needs to go. It needs to leave. So, I was lucky enough to do the best of both worlds. So I get to still travel, and now I'm just bringing it with me. So if I'm hosting a retreat in India or Costa Rica or Nepal, Mexico, or wherever, it's just sharing that experience with others, and especially people who wouldn't go otherwise. There's a lot of solo out there, but some people don't have people to with, or they like to go with someone who's experienced, a little bit too fearless, and that brings peace of mind to them. But I mean, my favorite thing, each place is different. I love being able to mix all of my passions and loves and offer it in a way that benefits other people and is potentially life changing too.
Respect. I salute you, Sarah. Where do you see this going down the line? I mean, like I said, you guys are obviously growing in the area. You've been sharing your all the yoga stuff that you've learned overseas and beginning to share all those experiences, which has got to be a great blessing in and of itself. To even having shared that with me a few years ago, with myself.
Yeah, remember, the future. What does the future hold? Well, you know, it depends. Like I wasn't expecting COVID, so who knows what could be tomorrow, right? We can't plan too firmly. Actually, one of the other learned along the way is not to plan anything too tightly, because I have found that most things that I plan become traveled. So I kind of operate on this trust and faith paradigm, and I just kind of flow. But with that being said, I would like to branch out. Something I've wanted to do in 2014 is like have a YouTube channel and just offer free there. A lot of my mission is just making yoga accessible. So I was so blessed to be presented with yoga. And at the time, I was struggling with drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, eating disorders, anxiety, depression, anger, violence. Like you can't tell now, but I used to be like the girl that everyone called the cops on because I was unruly at a house party, or I'd punch someone. I was a crazy teenager. So yoga helped me become a calm, peaceful adult, at least 95% of the time. And so for me, it's kind of like, okay, if I film these videos and put them on YouTube, people will have access that they maybe didn't have before. And yeah, there's a million videos on YouTube of yoga, but each teacher is different. And I feel like I approach my teaching a little bit differently than others. Um, Other goals, for the future, just offering more and more, hate to say it, but online content. I never thought I'd say that, but that's where it's going. And there's people from all over the world now who want to stay in touch and keep up. And if I'm based in Cleveland, my audience is really limited to the small population of Cleveland. And I just know there's a lot of people that need the help, that need the wisdom, that needs the teachings, and that is only done via the internet. So it's something I'm personally becoming more comfortable with too, is going online more and maybe writing some ebooks. Writing books has always been on the plan since before I can remember, so there's a lot.
Wow, you've come a hell of a long way, Sarah, and I got mad respect for you, man. For real. Like you're the content I never thought I'd see myself as a content creator, and look at me. So I guess, they say great minds think alike, and You ever think about getting into your own podcast? Man, that's incredible. That's your story is just amazing. Your story is just like really, really awesome. And where can people find out more information?
Yeah, so I think I'm most active on Instagram actually. So my Instagram is my full name at Sara Syed. So I don't know if you can like type that or something somewhere. Um, but you can also find me via the Instagrams of my businesses, which are easier to spell. That's at the Studio Cleveland. Can't forget the Studio Cleveland, or at Lakewood Yoga School, which is also hard to type, but at Satya, Satya Meditation and Yoga School. My website is www.meditationandyogaschool.com. So I try to keep that one simple. Um, but yeah, Instagram, email. Email is meditationandyogaschool@gmail.com. Lots of ways to find me.
Awesome, awesome. And if you have any advice in general for anybody, definitely feel free to share it because you're a very well traveled individual who knows their stuff. You've come a long way from where you were in the past, and you're making it happen up here in Northeast Ohio and around the world.
Thanks, Tony. You're making me blush. Well, I don't really know where to start. I mean, it's just each person is in a different place in their life. Um, each person wants different things. Some people like the 9 to 5. Some people, it works for some people. What I have to say doesn't fit for all humans. But if I had to give like of advice, and this is something that's helped me a lot, and it's referenced in a book called A Course in Miracles, is in every moment have an opportunity to choose fear. So with each decision we make, we're either moving closer to fear or closer towards love. And when I say love, I mean this unconditional divine love, the love that creates the plants and the trees, and the love that gives us all life. It's not this romantic love, it's this unconditional divine love. So in every single moment, we're presented with two options: to move towards our fears, our doubts, that's that ego, or towards love. And love takes tremendous amount of strength and courage. And, and my best advice for anyone is just to always choose the decisions and make choices that move us closer towards love. And you'll never be led astray. And it won't be easy. Won't be easy because you're facing your fears, you're facing your doubts, you're reprogramming the brain, rewiring your ancestral DNA. There's like a lot of stuff happening all the time. But if you move towards love, pick the decision that moves you closer to love, everything will be great.
Amen to that. It's definitely patient, kind, and keeps no record of wrongs. And love is awesome. And Sarah, thank you for coming on the show today. And for those of y'all on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. And those of y'all on Spotify, check this episode out, download, sub for more. This podcast called Tapped In with Tony, available on all streaming services. Sarah, to say it's been an honor would be an absolute understatement.
Well, thank you, Tony. Good to meet you and connect with you. It's been like 10 years. So thanks for thinking of me. And it's been very nice to touch base. And thank you for sharing my story. I appreciate it.